We'll call the meeting to order. Getting a little late start tonight because of the previous Board of Adjustment meeting. But
Hey. Take it easy. Take it easy. No, maybe.
We'll start with a roll call, starting on my right.
Mitch Lyons, Planning and Zoning.
Mark Schneider with Planning and Zoning.
Dalton Keiderling, Warrock Township.
Lila Spencer, Livonia Township.
Francine Larson, Blue Hill Township.
Steve DeMules, Palmer Township.
Terrence Vandereyck, Clear Lake Township.
Bruce Abel, Big Lake Township.
Kathy Sims, Haven Township.
Gary Gray, Sherburne County Commissioner, District 4.
Lynn Watashik, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Kaylee Vick, Planning and Zoning.
Carrie Winter, Planning and Zoning.
The meeting tonight is being recorded both audio and visual, and the Planning Commission is a recommending body. The items heard tonight will be forwarded to the County Board of Commissioners on March 17th, 2026 at 9 a.m. All of the comments made tonight will be forwarded to said board. We'll start. Are there any changes to the minutes? Has everyone had a chance to approve them? Can I have a
Move to
motion?
approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the agenda, any changes to it?
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Start with agenda item number 1, Mr. Chris Gray. Property owners Raymond and Diane Mortensen request a residential preliminary and final plat of Wagon Trail Woods consisting of 3 lots. PID 40-00012-1000. Legal description, northeast quarter of Section 12, Township 35, Range 29, Palmer Township.
Mr. Chair, can I remind everyone up on the board to make sure that your microphones are on so that we can hear you clearly, please? Thank you.
And if necessary, lean into the mic so it can be recorded. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir. My mom and my dad passed away in December, so I'm with her.
Could you please come to the agenda, state your name and address?
Mr. Chair, do you want a quick overview of the plat, or you just want
Come again?
a quick overview of the proposed plat? Or do you
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, good idea. Thanks. This one's yours, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I'll be quick. Yes, Chris Gray with Bogart and Peterson. Surveyor was the applicant. Owner is Diana Mortensen. As Matt said, Raymond had passed away in November. Request a residential preliminary and simple plat of Wagon Trail Woods consisting of 3 lots. Palmer Township reviewed it and provided comments on January 3rd. Palmer Township has no issues with request as presented. This type of plat is common for Palmer Township and helps preserve bigger tracts for ag. Russ Heiling, the county surveyor, all survey comments pertaining to the preliminary plat have been addressed and explained. No additional survey comments until final plat review and associated title commitment received. David Rodell, Deputy County Engineer, had 4 additional initial comments, but after revised drawings were received, provided comment on December 17th that no additional comments. The right-of-way is as requested at 50 feet. With that, the proposed simple plat of Wagon Trail Woods again consists of 3 lots from a 159.43 acre parcel. The 3 lots acreage are Lot 1, 10.22 acres, Lot 2, 10.74 acres, and Lot 3, 10 acres. The remaining 128.47 plus or minus acres will stay meets and bounds, stay as a meets and bounds parcel, and has an existing residence. There are no structures, wells, or septic systems on the proposed 3 lots. The reason from the surveyor for the lot configurations in the northwest side is that it follows an existing fence noted from the client, as well as the west line of the plat. The additional jogs in the northwest corner of the plat were to retain existing trails and historic wagon trail with a remnant piece. Wetland delineation was completed and a notice of decision was approved on December 3rd, 2025. All wetlands have had easements established around them. No wetland impacts are proposed. And all 3 lots have the 75% wooded tree canopy requirement. And with that, staff is recommending 4 conditions.
Any questions for the staff? None, okay. The applicant, please state their name and address for the record, please.
Diana Mortensen, and the address is 1930 135th Avenue, Clear Lake, 55319.
Have you anything to add to Mr. Glein's statements?
No?
None? Do you understand the 4 conditions, and are you able to abide by them? The 4 conditions of the plat.
Yeah,
Yeah?
sounds like it. It's okay.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? No? What are the wishes of the board?
Let's have a public hearing.
Oh, good idea. At this time, we'll open a
We
public
got a good
hearing.
audience, we might as well use them.
Is there anyone out there that have any comments on this issue? Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this issue? Okay, does anyone want to speak on this issue?
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go.
Mr.
What
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion to approve to recommend approval of the final simple plat consisting of the 3 lots with the 4 conditions.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Thanks for your attendance.
And if I could ask one more time, if you could please speak into your microphone or that we can hear you.
Well, you didn't hear me?
I heard you.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Were these the same as what was in the email?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Pardon me?
No.
No.
This is in addition to the emails?
All right. We received a lot of comments.
Talk about speed reading.
Yeah.
Is it on there? Do you need it? It's not here.
Okay, agenda item number 2, Dr. Ashley Anderson Knox, requesting to amend Sherburne County zoning ordinance, Section 7, Subdivision 4, Section 8, Subdivision 4, Section 10, Subdivision 4, and Section 16.2, Subdivision 4, to add veterinary clinic as an interim use. Mr. Schneider.
Perfect, thank you. So the board packet attachment included a letter and supporting documents from the applicant, the draft ordinances for section 7, 8, 10, and 16.2. Public comments received prior with the board packets, that's packet attachment F. And from 2/17 to 2/18, we received 25 public comments on this ordinance amendment. Those comments were emailed to the board at the end of the day, Wednesday, with all those comments. Since Wednesday, as of Thursday, we received 12 additional public comments by email. The board has received a copy of those, and they will be added to the public record. So these public comments are now incorporated into the public record and can be accessed by the public. So with that, townships, so this is an ordinance amendment. We do send our ordinance amendments out to the townships, and the following responses were received. Big Lake Township agreed with the proposed ordinance amendment. Blue Hill Township agreed with the proposed ordinance amendment. Clear Lake agreed with the proposed ordinance amendment. The board thinks it's a good fit for the county. Haven, no comment received. Livonia Township, the board agrees with the proposed ordinance, provided the following comments. Chair Hiller thought it would be great to add this. It would be beneficial service to the area. They would go through the IUP process when approved, and it was recommended that they pass forward a positive recommendation. Orac Township, the town board feels changes need to provide the following comments. Please lower the standard to 2.5 acres for small veterinary clinics. You need to be a minimum of 10 acres for large clinics. Need a minimum setback of 35 feet or requirements of equine infections spreading. Setback of 35 feet for all business activity, including separation of personally owned pens, animals that have no contact with veterinarian animals. And then Palmer Township agreed with the proposed ordinance. Palmer Township has no issue with adding a veterinary clinic to the ordinance, and San Diego Township also agreed with the proposed ordinance amendment. So staff report on this. Planning and Zoning has received a request for the county to amend the county ordinance to include veterinarian clinics as an listed interim use in the agricultural, general, rural, and commercial districts. This use is currently not permitted under existing ordinance. Planning and Zoning Department received a request from Dr. Ashley Ann Anderson, DDM, owner of AAA Equine, to amend Section 16 of the current ordinance to allow interim use permits to establish veterinarian clinics. That was included in the board packet attachment. According to the applicant, the amendment would support the commonly needed service that is currently unaddressed in the ordinance. The applicant has provided the county with a summary of her experience along with an example how an IEP would operate from a 5-acre parcel in Orrock Township. The owner of AAA did provide veterinarian services at her residence in Orrock Township in the past, but has ceased. She now provides mobile veterinarian service and works as she works through this ordinance amendment. Staff has worked with the applicant to ensure the ordinance fits their needs while making sure it is workable for the county. The proposed ordinance would become an interim use permit only in the county agricultural and general and commercial districts, which would allow for necessary scrutiny of veterinary clinics to fit the proposed location. The draft ordinance does not go into specific details related to animal units, in part because it'll be an interim use permit and the size and location and type of the business could vary drastically. A similar approach was taken with recent amendments to the county's ordinance for contractor's yard and towing wrecking services. The minimum lot size proposed by the applicant is 5 acres. This is in conflict with the county's zoning ordinance minimum standards for horse stables, which does require 10 acres. This is a topic that the staff would like Planning Commission to discuss during this meeting. So we did receive in-depth public comment from Ann Felbert. Address is listed, and this did go out in the board's packet. Expressing concerns that there's not adequate provisions in the ordinance to ensure control of the spread of infectious diseases to neighboring properties. Expressed concern that Minnesota rule has requirements that requires 200 yards isolation and quarantine for infected horses. Does not feel the proposed ordinance has sufficient setbacks for lot size in place to deal with these concerns. There were 37 public comments received, and as I said, 25 of those were received between 2/17 and 2/18, and those were emailed to the board in advance of this meeting, and then we received 12 additional comments from that time.
Mr. Chair, if I may too, as to that point that Mr. Schneider just talked about, with the board just receiving those other additional emails too, if it is at your convenience to take a few additional minutes to make sure that those are read and able to be considered as well before we move on to the next step, that would be my suggestion.
Can I ask, do we have a count on how many advocate for the changes and how many disagree?
So one thing I'd like to clarify, so this is for an ordinance amendment. It's to establish a new use in Sherburne County. Many of the emails I've received, pretty much extensively, I'd say, virtually all but one were in favor of this ordinance amendment. But a lot of the comments were, if I'm summarizing them, were in support of AAA, the business, and the applicant's ability to be a quality veterinarian, to provide services, to be a reputable company in Sherburne County. Some of them did go into more details related to the provisions of the ordinance, but a lot of them kind of focused on the actual business operation, not specifically the ordinance amendment.
Correct.
And the ordinance amendment's going to affect everyone in the county. It's not specific to this business, so
Or this
we're not
property.
necessarily looking at the attributes of this individual. We're looking at whether or not we want this use and what kind of restrictions or conditions do we want to have to allow such a use if you deem that necessary.
So at the public hearing tonight needs to specifically address the proposed changes to the zoning
Correct.
ordinance.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Would you, so that, as I read I did read all of the emails, and I'm going through here, and there's a back and forth between an IUP and a CUP. While we're reading this, would you explain the difference, maybe, what an IUP is versus a CUP? Because
Yeah,
there's
of course.
references to both, back and forth,
Yeah.
and they're very different.
Yep, and conditional use permit is a common term.
you.
So in our zoning ordinance, we have permitted uses, we have conditional uses, and interim uses. Permitted uses are just allowed with, basically an over-the-counter permit. Conditional use permit is a type of permit that runs with the land. So it stays with the property, not specifically the owner. There is not a sunset on conditional use permits. They basically run indefinitely. And an interim use permit is issued to a specific property owner or business, and it does terminate upon sale, or the board can set additional constraints or conditions that could put a sunset or a terminating date on those IEPs. So interim is potentially short-term and ends when the property is sold or the business is sold, and CUP stays with it regardless.
And Mr.
Proposed ordinance would what?
This proposed ordinance is an interim use permit,
Thank you,
or to establish it as an interim use permit in Sherburne County.
thank you.
And a point of clarification, it does not at this point approve or deny any particular permit itself.
Correct. We're establishing a new use in Sherburne County. We have, this board here's uses for interim use permits. Most common is home business and accessory building. So that is essentially what we're trying to create in our ordinance. The applicant looked to apply for a conditional use permit at one point in time, and she submitted paperwork through our county's permit portal. We had to deny that because we did not have this use. Then the applicant came forward and said, I'd like to establish this use in your ordinance, which is a process this board has seen a few times. Typically, the public doesn't initiate a lot of these actions. A lot of times it's more internal, but we're in the process of rewriting our zoning ordinance. And so at that time, we're not taking on other people's initiatives, but the public can initiate this. So a property owner in Sherburne County can initiate an ordinance amendment through this process.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess at this time are there any other questions for staff?
So I know that contractor's yard, we talk about the size of the yard and how many vehicles and stuff can be allowed on that property. Is there any reference to the size of this regards to the size of the lot, or are we just looking at the 5 acre?
So right now, the minimum requirement in the proposed ordinance that's up on the screen is 5 acres.
I mean, isn't there a way that we can establish that if it has so many units, animal units, that it has to be a certain size parcel?
And that is kind of what I think there's an attempt to do that. So we don't, one of the comments that I made in there, we don't put a provision in this ordinance that says X number of animal units has to have this many acres. Veterinarian clinics, we do have veterinarian clinics in Sherburne County. There's one in Zimmerman. It's in a commercial location and it's a small animal clinic. That's on probably half acre. But if we're dealing with large animals, it might be more appropriate that it's on a larger tract of land. So this ordinance was trying to capture kind of the broad scope of veterinarian services, veterinary clinics that could be out there. So I think through the interim use permit process is where it's appropriate to establish that the operation might be too big for the lot that they're proposing. We've seen that before.
So we're proposing to get it going and make amendments when it comes to application?
Not necessarily amendments, the application. So the IEP would basically, if someone came forward with a 40-acre parcel and they want to do a large animal veterinarian clinic, we would make sure that that property had sufficient space to operate that business. If it was a 5-acre parcel, we would do the same thing, making sure that there's sufficient space for how they intend to operate the business. So if they had a business plan where this is 24-hour emergency vet care, where people can drive in any, time of day, and there's no limit on how many parking spaces they might have. You know, they might say that they're looking to have, you know, service for 40 people at one time. Well, then that requires a larger parcel. If someone's looking at its appointment only and we're limiting it to no more than 5 people in a day or something along those lines, and you could refine that interim use permit to a smaller standard.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
With our existing interim use or conditional use permit, I believe it actually is, a horse stable requires 10 acres. And so I think that in my opinion, if you want to allow a large animal clinic to be consistent with the current ordinance, it seems that a property that's larger to be able to handle trailers, horses, large animals, big vehicles pulling in, pulling out, it may be something that you want to consider to be consistent with what we currently have for stables to allow something like that for this specifically. Just a thought that I wanted to bring to your attention.
And that's one of the things that OROC kind of talked about during our meeting, is we had that 10 acres there. Then we're also talking that this could have housing on it. So I know we have a lot of people from AAA, but we're trying to separate that from this discussion. You have some plots that may be 5 acres with nothing on it, and you may have 5 acres where there's already residential and there's personal animals on it. We were kind of thinking those are 2 different things there, because you're trying to separate animals that are personal versus ones that are coming in that are potentially sick. That's why we are really recommending the 10 acres for the large animals, is to follow the stables and then to try to get more and adequate space if there is residential on that that plot. The 2.5 that we talked about for small, I think it goes back to what you were saying, Mark, is there's other instances where it's half-acre operations. And we're thinking 5 acres is, you don't need 5 acres if you're having a cat or a parrot or something coming in. OROC's general rural, so most of our lots are not these large lots, so it's really restricting if we want to do a small veterinary. So that's why we propose to lower that one down to 2.5 instead of 5.
Any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Ma'am.
The other comment I wanted to make was on the small animal veterinary clinic. Just a thought for the board would be to consider, you know, we allow a home business and accessory building, so to try to be equivalent with those kind of requirements, we say no more than 2 full-time equivalent employees. So that, and that a property has to be homesteaded. You'll have to consider whether on the 10-acre parcel or whether it's on a smaller parcel, that would we require to be homesteaded, because do you want horse stables or vet clinics out in a rural area and they're not on a homesteaded piece of property, they're not on a piece of property where there's a house, they just build a clinic out in a rural 2.5-acre lot. So that's something you may want to consider when you're looking at the conditions that were established potentially for this. And lastly, whether or not you wanted to require a maximum structure size like we do on a home business and accessory building for the small animals of maybe 1,500 square feet. Then we're doing apples to apples with a home business, but we're allowing a vet clinic specifically. So those are some things that you can consider.
There it is, right there.
So the issue, one issue boils down to
Okay, what do you want me to say now?
Yes.
subdivision 5, 28, item A2, 5 acres for an equine, large animal or mixed animal veterinary clinic. Is that,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
are we discussing 5 or 10 acres as a minimum?
That's the discussion point that you would have amongst the board, but maybe first you want to call the applicant and we'll start there, unless you have more questions for the staff specifically.
Any additional questions for the staff?
I do. Mark, can you just clarify, this is just a change to the comp plan, correct? We're not specifically going after talking about one specific incident. It's the fact that the applicant is an equine veterinarian. Is that the case here?
So this is would be a zoning ordinance amendment.
Right.
And it's being brought forth by someone who has, past experience and operated a veterinarian clinic from her property. So that is basically, so it's being brought forth by the applicant to establish this new use in our zoning ordinance, but it's not to establish it at her residence.
All right.
That would require this ordinance to be approved by the county board and then an application for an IUP for
And
a
that would-
veterinarian clinic at her personal property.
That would be another, whole nother process.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is not.
Correct. And we do have, I know we do, I'm trying to find it in here, Sherburne County animal units as a measure.
And that's related to manure management?
I understand that, but if you have horses, you're gonna have that.
Correct.
If you have cows or goats, you're gonna have that.
And we have that listed in here that they have to provide us with a manure management plan if this were to be approved.
Any other questions,
Okay.
comments? This time we'll ask the applicant to come to the podium and state the name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ashley Anderson Nook. We're at 25355 189th Street Northwest in Big Lake.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the proposed changes to the amendment, or anything to add to Mr. Schneider's presentation?
Yeah, I think you had some really good points about how there's such a wide variety of different practices out there. You know, we have Anoka Equine, which is like a large referral facility, and they're commercially located on like 8 acres. So there's like multiple doctors there. And then, you know, we have solo practitioners that are ambulatory or single doctor practices. So I think, you know, the IUP would probably be more specific for, you know, what you're looking for, like to create in your practice. So I'm only one person, so I don't think that I would need like a large referral facility. It would essentially be like, you know, being a dental clinic where you'd have patients come in, get their teeth done, and then leave right away. We wouldn't be hospitalizing anything or, you know, keeping any sick animals, or, you know, it would be like healthy appointments only. So I think the IUP would be a good place to like address specifics on what type of practice and how large of a scale like operation it would be.
Okay, thank you. I guess at this time we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue?
Do you want me to speak?
Please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
And then just to clarify for the public, we do have a 3-minute time
Yeah,
limit
there's
for
a 3-minute
public
limit.
comments.
I am.
Again, keep your comments limited to the change in the amendments.
Perfect. I am Maria Engie. I'm on the east side of Princeton in Sherburne County. I own HH Stables. We have 40 acres. We're allowed to have up to 50 horses on site. We run a full boarding facility.
Could we have your address, please, for the record?
10410 313th Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I'm super in favor of her business actually operating, but going through your comments, I think in her scope of her work, the 5-acre would be more than enough for what she's handling. She definitely does not take in sick horses. Like in my business, if there's a sick horse, we quarantine at home. She'll come and see them, we'll treat. I mean, we definitely meet the 200-yard quarantine need. We have plenty of space where we're at. But her business does a lot of our critical care. I mean, I'm a performance horse rider, so she comes and helps us just work through a lot of issues that I can't always get that niche even from Anoka Equine. So I really wanted to just nail down that 5-acre thing. I really think she could operate within a scope under an IUP that you guys write up. That, I mean, if she ever left, that would go with her, then it would just end at the facility and not continue running. So I don't know if anybody has any other comments for me, or if that helps or hinders anything going forth, but
Okay,
okay,
thanks for your comments.
thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on this issue?
I am, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Mark, I'll submit my, for the record. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Ann Felber, 25409, 189th Street Northwest, Big Lake, Minnesota. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gray, and the members of the commission. You're right, this meeting tonight is not about deciding if a particular person can or cannot have this facility. It's about defining the future parameters, enforcing fair rules, and mitigating risk and aligning Sherburne County with the regional standards. While the proposed ordinance addressed is a legitimate need, I fully agree, it is not appropriate in its current form. In my 30 years of experience in the horse industry, it has showed me most equine vets operate as farm cow practices, as well described by the previous speaker. Regional data shows that haul-in veterinary facilities typically operate on parcels of 10 acres or more, consistent with the neighboring county ordinances and Sherburne County's own standard of comparable uses of like riding academies. And I have put in your packet a list of all the haul-in facilities in our area. Interestingly, in review of Sherburne County's ordinances around animals, requirements for private kennels for 4 dogs is a 500-foot separation between the kennel location and the pre-existing neighboring residence. Yet this proposed ordinance in its current form would allow it to be within 10 feet of my property. Unlike others who have spoken, and quite honestly, any other person in Sherburne County, I am the only person, along with my husband, who is next to this property. And I have a unique experience. Well, I will stand for questions about that experience if needed. I agreed when it was appropriate as a farm cow practice on 5 acres, but it has turned into something much more. And by definition, when I mean much more, this has created an unreasonable disturbance in peace and quiet. We are unable to open windows, enjoy our property without disruption, and I have pictures I've sent in your packet of our property before all the tree and screening was removed and after it was removed in order to try to fit this on 5 acres. What I will tell you is that, importantly, that unpermitted business storage materials and vehicles, for the most part, will be shifted over without great space between property lines. We've been residents for nearly 30 years, and we, along with our neighbors, have valued privacy. We've maintained screening for 30 years and a quiet rural character, all of which have been significantly affected. In closing, a 10-acre minimum consistent with stables, a riding facility ordinance is appropriate. This provides adequate space for setbacks, noise mitigation, biosecurity compliance, which should be central in consideration given recent outbreaks of EHV1 and EIA. As mentioned, she is operating on a 39-acre facility at this time. That activity is appropriately located and consistent with regional standards and current county ordinances. This ensures Sherburne County sets clear, fair, and enforceable standards. Thank you for your time, and I'll stand for questions.
Any questions from the board?
Hearing none, thank you.
And I would just like to note that Ann did provide a written copy of kind of her.
Come again?
Document. Ann did provide a written copy of her comments that will be added. She has to be added to the record.
Are those new or additional comments, or were they already incorporated?
Copy of what I exactly said.
Oh, a copy of what you said just now? Okay, thank you.
For reference is F5. As far as comparisons.
What was that?
I said F5 is comparisons.
I believe what Kathy's referencing is F5 in the document is where Ms. Felber did the different comparisons of the different size facilities in the area. Is that what you're saying, Kathy?
Yes, because she mentioned they were included.
Okay. Any more?
Anyone else here to speak on this issue? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Greg Felber, 25409 189th Street, Northwest, Big Lake, Minnesota. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Commissioner Gray. I am speaking tonight as this is my only opportunity to weigh in on this issue. I won't cover points that I'd already made in my letter to the board. I will stick to the areas of the actual ordinance. This hearing is about how this ordinance would affect all residents of Sherburne County and how it'd be appropriate to have this type of a business, specifically the Holland Veterinary Care. We're not discussing necessarily mobile veterinary care at this point in time. We have to balance the economic convenience for the applicants with the rights of the neighbors to be free from an intrusive business. That's in our policies, that's in Sherburne County Comprehensive Plan. The key to, we have to assume that others will apply under this ordinance in the future. We also have to assume that these eventually will be full-time operations that could include 6-day-a-week operations and possibly evening emergency operations, as this is very common in the industry. The key for the large animal Holland clinics is sufficient acreage to be consistent with our current regulations. It's already been covered, and it would be 10 acres. And in the neighboring counties, it's 10 acres. That is the absolute minimum, which makes a lot of sense. We have to assume that personal animals will also be on these residential properties if we're allowing it in residential areas. I haven't had a vet in the 40-some years that I've been doing regular veterinary care of large animals that didn't own their own animals. So you have to assume they're going to be at their residence. I feel that the 10 acres would be excellent on general, rural, and agricultural. So setbacks are really going to be important. Setbacks for the infectious separation between animals that come in. Definitely do sick animals do come in, and some of them expire on the property. I also think this would be a good idea for the industrial and commercial areas to have at least 10 acres. Just to prevent it from being someplace else. I do believe that small animal clinics could operate on 5 acres in the general rural and agricultural areas if they can create setbacks that comply with our kennel ordinance if animals are ever put in outdoor runs. You need to be specific about that. Some vets do, some vets don't. Smaller acreage would disturb neighborhoods in those areas. I think on 2.5 acres, if I bought a house at the front of the cul-de-sac and somebody puts a vet clinic at the end of it, I'm going to have 15, 20 cars a day running back there in the same 30 mile an hour, 35 mile an hour place where my kids play in the summertime, and there's a lot of pedestrian traffic. So I would, in the residential areas, I would still have these confined to 5 acres or more. In commercial, industrial, and hamlet zones, a small animal clinic, I believe, could absolutely operate on the smaller lot, which they do already in the cities and some other areas. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
I just have a comment, I guess. So I'm just curious.
Please step up to the mic.
I'm just curious why we're not able to have the 5 acres for a large animal practice, even if we're not hospitalizing anything, if it's only like hauling in for quick things or use outpatient services. And you also said that there aren't very many like 10-acre parcels in Orrock Township, so that would be like zoning out solo practitioners that there just aren't those 10-acre lots available to buy. So if that gets zoned out and like a 5-acre lot is not adequate enough, there just aren't that many properties available to have that service.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, just as a point of clarification, this is the public hearing portion. It is not additional opportunity or questions and answers for the applicant unless those are questions posed by the board. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have any questions, then?
Are there any other questions for Mr.? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Bridget Herkenhoff-Meidinger. I live at 12021 185th Avenue Southeast, Big Lake, just a few miles from Dr. Nock here. And she does a lot of the specialty stuff that is really hard to find. I have a very, very rare horse, one of the rarest horses on the planet, an American cream draft. Go ahead, look that up. They all look the same. It's fine. But
Has this got anything to do with the
Yes.
proposed amendment? Thank you.
Yes, because most of the stuff that she seems to do is you bring your animal in and you leave with it. It doesn't stay. My particular horse needs artificial insemination. She can do that. If I have to go anywhere else to have that done, the price goes up extremely for me, which I understand that that's not everything, but my horse does not stay there. I bring it in and I leave. You bring in your horse to get their teeth floated, which a horse needs to be able to eat. That can all be done on 5 acres. Your horse comes in your trailer. There's plenty of room to turn your trailer around and leave. It's not that, it's not out of the ordinary if you've ever been there. And like I said, the specialty that she can do is incredible. It's, otherwise it is equine, Anoka equine, and they will only come to you, and you have to have a really good reason, and they're very expensive. But for me, like I said, I have one of the rarest horses in the world who has to have a baby. She can do that.
Yeah.
That is special. But it doesn't mean my horse stays there.
Yeah.
So the 5 acres, I think, is a doable thing as long as she's not keeping the animals for, weeks at a time. And I mean, my horse has, just like all of yours, you get a Coggins test, you get the stuff to see if they have the equine anemia, the one that's, there's a couple of them going around. That's an every year test. She also does that. So it's...
Again, this is about a change to their zoning ordinance, not
and-
her personal services, so.
Right, but what I'm saying is that her personal services are, they're short. You take your animal there and you leave with it. It's not staying on the property, which I think is different than a lot of clinics.
Yeah.
That's,
Thank you for your comments.
yeah.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this issue?
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment on that?
Okay.
Is there anything in the proposed about whether animals stay there or are hauled away, or how many animals stay on site within the red draft? Because she makes a good point about hauling animals in versus actually staying there.
That's not a performance standard that we covered in the ordinance,
Okay.
no.
Is there a way that we would
Could
consider
incorporate.
that? Okay.
Yeah, because the thing that I've heard is there's different levels of veterinarian care, different type of clinics, and it can vary drastically. And I think they keep referring back to her personal business, and she's, so that keeps reoccurring. But I think there's a pretty broad variety of type of veterinarian care that this could be.
Yeah.
And maybe, yes, boarding of animals should have been called out in this, or keeping of animals.
And that's what I'm hearing already with the comments, is there's kind of 2 distinct things going on here. Boarding versus
Sick
bringing it
animals
in.
or
And, yeah. Because that was kind of when we did the towing, what was it, 2 months ago, the towing and impound lot? Keeping cars on site was the big issue, number of cars on site, not necessarily the number of cars coming and going in terms of employees pulling in, things like that. I feel like this might be the same as how many are actually staying there compared to just they're there for the hour and then leaving.
I have one question for you, Mark. Item F8, provide a manure management plan that is compliant with Minnesota rules. Is that reviewed in the interim use permit process, or?
Yeah, so what, will happen is the applicant will provide a manure management plan. Sometimes MPCA provides the approval or acceptance of those type of plans. SWCD can also assist us in the review of those documents. So when we have horse stables, we'll get a manure management plan, and we will consult with
As I understand.
MDA or SWCD for guidance on that.
Okay, what is,
I have a
ma'am?
question. So I'm looking at the red line that we got. And it talks in here on 28B, the business must be located on homesteaded property of the business owner, and the applicant must be a veterinarian who is licensed, et cetera, et cetera. So is this considered a home-based business then? By definition?
That's a fair
Because
interpretation.
then we have our own guidelines as far as what that looks like.
You know, that's one of the requirements when many of our businesses that we approve as an interim use permit in our general rural and agricultural districts, we do want that home-based connection. So it's not just a commercial property located in a random area. We want that home ownership tying it to connect to the property.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I can respond to the question of Member Ketterling, if I may.
Certainly.
Thank you. In reference to the number of podium, please. Yes, I will. Again, as being the only person who lives next door to this property, I can tell you there have been instances where they do stay. They have died. And I will tell you that one in or out, that's not the problem. This is high intensity. This is a day at the vet clinic. This is the in and out. So again, you can look at the pictures. On any given day, there's 6 to 8 or 10 trailers that come in and out a day. So in answer to your question, Mr. Ketterling, that is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. What is the discussion of the board?
Do we have more public comments?
Oh, beg your pardon, yeah. Does anyone else wish to speak on this issue? No.
Tina Slipka, 31721 172nd Street, Princeton, Minnesota. We live in Sherburne County. I 100% believe that 5 acres is completely enough for the kind of practice she runs. She is not a large vet clinic. She is a one-person practice that has another dental person come in to help. She does not house sick animals. She sends us out to other vet clinics for sicknesses, or she comes to our facilities. We specifically have 6 horses that we rodeo on. We have a dirt barn floor. We cannot perform or get our services that we need without her facilities unless we go elsewhere. 5 acres, we make our appointment, we come in, we turn around, we leave. It should not be this complicated, unfortunately. 5 acres should be way sufficient for what she has coming in.
Again, this proposed amendment doesn't apply necessarily to just her.
Right, it's the 5 acres
Operation.
versus 10 acres, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and for what she does at her practice, 5 acres is a lot
And-
sufficient.
We're looking at a countywide application here, not just a specific one. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Does there anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Does anyone? Yes, ma'am.
I'll just say one more thing, like as a veterinarian, if you want help with different guidelines, I can, talk to my colleagues and we can help develop the, different options for different types of vet clinics, This is, mine is just for horses. There can be like mixed animals, goats, things like that. So it's just such a wide variety. I think it's hard to dial in on a single ordinance that's going to capture everything.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to make different tiers or
It's kind of after the fact right now. We're looking
Right.
at
this, yep,
what we have in front of us.
yep.
If there were additional input to be made, should have been made before this meeting.
Yep.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this issue? Anyone wish to speak on this issue?
Mr. Chair, this is not for additional comments by speakers who have already provided their time. The point is if there are additional new speakers to speak at the public hearing.
I could tell you about the dead animal that you keep talking about.
We haven't talked about it.
That was mine.
For the third time, is there anyone else wishing to speak on this issue? Anyone wish to speak on this issue? Does anyone wish to speak on this issue?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I should have mentioned before we close that this will be the last opportunity to speak on this issue. The public hearing is the end of it, so. What is the discussion of the board?
I have a question. So the red that's presented here, correct, was constructed by staff, correct?
No,
Who is it constructed by?
applicant, in
Okay,
conjunction with
so-
staff, staff provided some general guidelines and the applicant
So
proposed the
ent-
ordinance.
Entertain this question then for, I guess, staff and for the board. 28A, 1 and 2 are both 5 acres, but number 1 is 5 acres for companion animals. Number 2 is 5 acres for equine, large animals, mixed animals, plus, I would consider them companion animals. I guess I'm curious why there's a delineation between 1 and 2. I mean, aren't they all the same thing?
And Kathy, that's why with the Orrock Town Board last month, we had talked about splitting those to
Correct.
2.5
I
to
guess
10
I'm
because
trying to
otherwise what's the
dovetail into what
reason
your
of
comment
having?
was.
Yeah, otherwise what's the reason of having them split? It's just 5 acres then. So when we looked at that, that was our thought too, is you can do the small animals on a much smaller plot, and that's why we looked to lower that one. The 5 versus 10, again, it's up for debate here, but I'm with you. Like, if we're not going to change it from, like, delineate, then why even have 2 bullet points there?
Correct. And then I want to go back to the question I had before that
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
stated.
I think we had a motion and a second to close the public hearing, but I don't know that we voted on it. Could we make sure we finish that, please?
Been moved and seconded
Rules of order. Thank you.
to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then my next question is, I had asked before, we have guidelines for home-based business, and based on this, it would be homesteaded property of the business owner, which means then that it would be a home-based business?
Yes,
Okay. And we already have,
but there's a different, we have, in our ordinance, there's numerous times where we call out an IEP, and it does specify that it has to be homesteaded by the property owner.
Okay.
So it's a common occurrence under a lot of our IEPs.
And just
I was just looking at some that do exist, and some of them are, they obviously don't live there. I mean, it's just a business where they come and go, and so. Right.
And just for the record, home-based does not mean it has to be in your physical home, correct?
Correct.
On the property.
Home occupancy.
And this is speaking strictly to home-based businesses, not a standalone building.
That's
in
what
the
this
middle
is,
of 5 acres.
so that's what this is capturing.
Ms. Wojtaszek, earlier on, you mentioned a discussion on a home-based business. What was that point again?
Well, and I did see in here under item number 28B that it was stated in here that the property owner has to be homesteading the property. So I think that gets addressed. You know, my concern was initially whether or not you had people that would go out into a 2.5 acre subdivision or a 5 acre subdivision, and they would put a business and not live there. So that is adequately addressed in here, I believe. Thank you.
So then, what it boils down to is again, in my perspective, is A2.
I think the size, and then if,
Is it-
especially on these smaller ones, do you want to limit the size of the businesses if for the smaller animal vets?
I see.
Do you want to say that in a 2.5, if you wanted to allow it in a 2.5 acre subdivision or a 5 acre subdivision, you know, we require no more on a regular home-based business of 1,500 square feet. I believe that's the number, is it 1,800 square feet. And we require that it be homesteaded, which we're already addressing that issue. And then we also have the requirement in our home-based business that no more than 2 full-time equivalent employees. Do we want to have something like that here? Because if you're in a residential area, do you want to have, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, because we're not talking about this one specifically, but one could come forward in the future and they might have 5 veterinarians. Or, you know, do you want to have a cap on that to keep it home-based, so to speak?
Do we need that here, or is that during the IUP, CUP process, though?
Well, if you don't put it in here, then there is no cap, and it's based on what anyone comes forward with. And that sometimes makes it more difficult for the boards to have to limit someone when they thought that they could do what they wanted to. So sometimes if you have that information up front, you make it easier for everyone, both the residents of the county or the businesses that want to move here, as well as the boards, because there are some caps pre-established potentially.
Sure.
So, when this first came to me, I thought, okay, well, you know, we need vets, let's see what we can do. Through this process, it's become, to me, overwhelming. And for me, I don't feel comfortable about making that decision tonight. So, if the rest of you want to, that's fine, but I would not want to get specific on all these items in this short time. There's a lot to digest, there's a lot to read.
And with an ordinance amendment, we're not under the 60-day rule. Is that what you're going to
So,
say, Mark?
Yeah, so, what I was looking for from the planning commission, whenever we bring an ordinance amendment, Lynn is correct. Ordinance amendments are legislative action, and they're not governed under state statute 15.99, which says we have to deliver a decision within 60 days. So we're not under that same time constraint. And so, what I was looking from the planning commission is a recommendation to either recommend approval, denial, or make suggested changes. So that is in the board's purview to say, I don't think this ordinance is ready, and you could push it back to.
And then it comes back?
And then it would come back.
Because I also look at, I gotta think which one it is, A, B, C, D, E, F. C, it talks about setback 10 feet inside the property. I mean, those are the things that I'm going, 10 feet?
And I think
My property
that
line?
might be more important than the 5 acres even, the more we talk about it.
So what I'm saying is, there's a lot of meat in here. There's a lot of,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I have to agree with Steve and Vic. I need a little bit more time to digest.
Yes.
There's a significant amount of public comments that were received that do have some good guidance and good information in there too. So, to the point that Lynn was making, this is not governed by 1599. This board always can make a motion to
Do we table it
this
then?
and
Robert's Rules
continue
of Order?
the discussion and direct staff and the applicant to refine this ordinance to maybe address some of those concerns and bring it back to the board.
I think because it encompasses the entire township, we do need to give more consideration to this than just this one evening.
I agree.
Can I make a recommendation before we try to table it? Can we agree whether we need this or not? Because I think we're getting very specific into the details. Are we in support or not of having vets in the rural agricultural? Because if someone says we're not in support of that, are we wasting our time?
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, whereas if we're all in support of it, then we definitely need to take more time.
I mean, so like Blue Hill Township, we're in support of it.
And I think Oroc's in support of veterinary clinics as well. And I think we've heard that from everybody commenting here. It is a needed service from our residents, and I'm seeing a ton of head nods.
I think the bigger question is the 5 acres sufficient?
Sure. But that's what I'm saying. Can we all at least stack hands that this is something that Sherburne County needs, this is something that we want, and agree on that, and then we take it away? So I'm just asking you, can we do that before we table it?
And I think, there's an opportunity, there is, in one of our projects, so we have contractors yards, we have small, medium, large. We have kind of breaking down in different categories. And that would be something that maybe would be appropriate here. I think there was an attempt to break it down in categories and item A, minimum lot size, but it kind of fell short. So maybe it's a deeper dive into the type of veterinarian clinics that are potentially available, the options that would be out there. And then associated with the different levels of veterinarian clinics, then you could talk about acreage. Then you can talk about setback requirements, because it
Correct.
would be a different setback requirement for a small animal veterinarian clinic where they're just bringing the animals inside versus one that has a run, as was described earlier, a dog run. So you could break it up in maybe categories and allow the board then a better ability to understand, what's appropriate for the different types of clinics that are out there.
Clarify for me, though, no matter what we do here, they'll all still have to come back, make an application for an IUP, no matter what veterinary clinic it is, and it'll have to go through the rigorous standards that we have, which we can put conditions on each and every one of them, right?
That's correct. But one of the things is, to Lynn's point, about setting certain minimum standards that everyone here are the minimum standards we need to adhere to. That is something that, we probably could further refine in this ordinance.
Well, I'd like to see a more defined ordinance and cut back on what this board has to do when they see an IUP. I don't want to have to go through a large meeting for each IUP for a vet. So I think that if we can pin down more detail on this, it would help to establish what we have to do when the IUP comes.
And I think this discussion this evening has been a little bit, we're kind of tying it to a person who wants to have that vet hospital. We have to separate that out and just look at an ordinance that's countywide, not person-specific.
Should I go out on a limb and say you want staff to rewrite it and bring it back to you?
Well, I think that the sticking points are the lot sizes. I think we need to see
Associated with
more
the
of a variety to get smaller variations. I mean, what I'm saying is, 2.5, 5, 10, something in this order, and at least to get that established. And then, some of the small details that we have discussed tonight.
And I think the other thing is we have a lot of new information. We had this last month at all the township meetings with not a ton of information. We have a ton of new information now that we can bring back to all of our boards, because each of us are supporting 4 other people. So there's going to be 4 other opinions for each of us up here that might have a new opinion after hearing some of these comments.
And Mr. Chair, staff appreciate the feedback that we get so that we can go forward and try to figure out what it is your needs are and the needs are of the residents, and then we can tailor this to fit the needs of the community.
And because, so my recommendation, staff would, yes, work on refining this at the board's direction, but working with the applicant to help kind of define those limits. She made the application, she is demonstrating, or she's making the case that this is needed in our ordinance. I'll be going back to her to work on crafting this ordinance and breaking it down further.
Yeah, but isn't she going to be a little bit biased by the size? She's
Staff is still gonna have to
already
do our-
stated that, a 10-acre parcel in Orok is hard to come by.
Yep, I understand, but it's breaking it down and trying to delineate the different type of veterinary cares or veterinary clinics that could be out there, I think is one of the charges that, is clearly that it needs to be done. Delineating the different types of veterinary clinics that could fall under this IEP.
And I appreciated your comment about contract yards. There's different, there's a variety of them out there.
And different
how they're
standards for
defined and
each
what
one.
they do and what the standards are that goes with that.
Yep, and that's what I think is kind of the direction we'll go with this.
We'd appreciate that.
So what do we need to do, Robert?
Make a motion to table.
Okay.
And again, we're not under the 60-day rule here, so do we have to table to a time certain, or are we able to just say table it for staff to work on? The attorney says we can table it for staff to work on.
We need a
That's my motion.
Yes, please.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of the motion to table this and let staff refine the proposed ordinance a little more? Says, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, well, thank everyone for their comments.
Thank you for working on this. Where'd she go?
She's up here, Kathy.
Thank you.
So the hearing for the the ordinance amendment is done. We're now going to move to the next item. So you're welcome to go if you want. Trying to make sure you do.
They don't want to hear about solar farms?
Really?
Commissioners like full public hearings. It makes for good talk. Thank you.
My goodness.
Well, she owns it.
Yeah, wow.
I'm Kaylee. Oh, my name tag wasn't moved over here.
Bad habit of mine.
Okay. Agenda item number 3. Luke Gildemeister, U.S. Solar. Property owner, Minnesota Municipal Power Agency, requesting to amend the comprehensive land use plan from rural residential to energy production dash private solar field. PID number 10-00113 dash 1300. Southwest quarter, northeast quarter of section 13, town 33, range 27. Mr. Schneider.
So we are first dealing with an ordinance amendment, comprehensive plan land use map amendment for U.S. Solar. U.S. Solar did have a variance that preceded this meeting that was recommended for denial for vegetation screening. So just the board knows that there was a previous public hearing for this project, but dealing with vegetated screening, which was denied by the board. So the project would require full screening around the property. So what was included in the board packet was aerial photo, letter from the applicant, the 2040 Sherburne County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, site plan, and this came after the Planning Commission. It was a request that the full minutes of the Big Lake Township hearing be added to the public record. So that is being added to the public record at this time also. So U.S. Solar is proposing to put a 3.5 megawatt solar farm on a 30 acres of a 38-acre property. The property is currently zoned general rural pursuant to the Sherburne County Comprehensive Plan, policy statement number 9. A new land use designation was established for energy production, private solar fields. The designation was intended to capture parcels that are being used to supply energy to communities in known areas planned for energy production. Therefore, the county does require an amendment to the comprehensive land use map as part of the solar farm IEP process to ensure the project does not have an adverse impact on natural resources in the living environment. Currently, the comprehensive plan has this parcel classified as rural residential. This property is not identified as prime farmland. It has 8 wetlands and a private ditch and a high water table, making the site not suitable for farming or residential development. There are no structures on the property. It is currently assessed by the county as rural vacant and unapproved residential land. The adjacent land use to the north is vacant, that abuts Tibbetts Brooks and wetlands. Property will likely not be developed in the future due to these features. The southern property abuts County Road 94, and the parcel and the property south of that is vacant. The western parcel is also vacant. The land to the east is a residential subdivision with 23 single-family homes. So you can see that in board packet attachment D. And we did receive a public comment from Paul Olson after the board packets were sent out. So this email, he's a neighboring landowner. His address is 21180 145th Street, Elk River. He provided his reasons for objecting to the proposed solar project. A copy of this will be handed out at the public hearing. So what Planning and Zoning staff is looking for is Planning Commission to provide their reasoning for recommending or approval of denial of this request.
Any questions from the board for staff?
Did we get a copy of that letter? Is that in this packet that we had from the last one?
Yeah. That email that may be sitting on my desk. There was a lot of last minute. I'll pull it up on the computer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is a message that was received as part of the public comment. I can print this off and we can give it to the board in between this. So I'll print this right now. He couldn't attend the meeting. He had a,
I'm still here, but I got.
You're still here. Okay. He had a hockey commitment that potentially was going to pull him away. So he provided this written comment, but positive is his comments are, incorporated into the public record now. So with that, I'll just turn it back to the board for a discussion on this comprehensive plan land use map amendment.
Any questions from the board for staff? Could we have the applicant come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please?
Thank you. Sam Mearsman, 220 South 6th Street, Suite 1300, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55402. I'm here representing the landowner and the ultimate owner of the project, Minnesota Municipal Power Agency. MMPA is a public utility serving 12 retail electric utilities within the state of Minnesota, and we're proposing to build a solar farm on this land. We've hired U.S. Solar, who mostly submitted all the application materials to implement this project for us. I think, this agenda item plus the next one, there might be multiple comments. I won't give, if you guys have any other questions about who we are as MMPA or the project, we could do them now, or we could do them when we get to the actual IUP application as well, but.
I'm sure there'll be questions.
Mr. Chair, I think in order to make a decision on this that would affect the comp plan amendment, you have to discuss whether or not you think the solar IUP is appropriate. So they kind of go hand in hand. You probably want to know what the plans are for the IUP so you can make a decision on this. So you may want to encompass discussion on both potentially.
So we'll open both agenda items
I think
simultaneously?
just have a discussion that includes both of them, correct?
Okay. Should I recite agenda item number 4 then? We're going to have discussions on both agenda items. Agenda item number 4, again, Mr. Luke Gildemeister, U.S. Solar, property owner, Minnesota Municipal Power Agency, request an interim use permit for a solar farm, PID number 10-00113-1300 in Section 13, Town 33, Range 27, Big Lake.
Okay, so I'll run through the staff report on this, same as we did, and then you can turn back to the applicant to kind of cover both items at the same time. So the board packet included the aerial photo excerpts from the civil construction plans, the interim use permit application, natural heritage review completed by the DNR, excerpts from the stormwater management plan, excerpts from their electrical construction plans, and then the full minutes from the Big Lake October 22nd meeting. Township comments. Big Lake Township did not provide a recommendation of approval or denial, but provided the following comments were provided. The supervisors took the opportunity to question the applicant about where and who will be receiving power generated. They learned it will be part of a distribution to customers for the Minnesota Municipality Power Agency. Big Lake Township residents do not receive power from this company. Board members also learned that there may be a bit more taxes paid to the township as solar was placed on the property. Supervisor Alford had historic knowledge of the property and commented that the soils were modeled and crops may or may not produce well. He felt solar would be a good use. Supervisor Henstrom commented he felt that the project would be minimal financial benefit to the residents of Big Lake Township, and because township residents would not benefit from the energy projection, rejected the use of solar. And so the full copy of the township's minutes have been added to that board packet at their request. David Rodell, Deputy County Engineer, provided these following comments. U.S. Solar will coordinate with Public Works on the location and access to the site. Construction of the access will require a permit to construct according to Public Works standards as identified in the permit application. Public Works is planning to reconstruct County Road 94 in 2027. The access will require additional culvert to convey water, so it will not be trapped. U.S. Solar wishes to construct in 2026, so plans to construct the permanent access with their proposed project in 2026. This will include the installation of the driveway culvert. The proposed junction box identified in the site plan will require to be placed on within private property and outside the 50-foot right-of-way. With reconstruction, we typically clear trees 50 feet of the right-of-way. This is 50 feet, and we did discuss with US Solar that we'll review locations close to the right-of-way line to determine if some trees can remain. We would review and stake the right-of-way for acquisition purposes sometime in the spring of 2026. Staff's report on this. So US Solar is requesting to, Minnesota Municipal Power Agency is proposing a 3.5 megawatt solar farm on 38-acre parcel. They're requesting a 40-year IUP. MMPA currently serves Minnesota municipalities in Anoka, Arlington, Brownton, Buffalo, Chaska, East Grand Forks, Elk River, Le Sueur, Shakopee, Winthrop. According to the applicant, the solar farm will generate enough electricity to power approximately 800 homes annually and will interconnection to the distribution system of the Elk River Municipal Utilities. Delineation was approved in October of 2025. Determined there were 8 wetlands on the property. A de minimis and no loss application were approved by the county in February of 2026. The property will use the entire de minimis afforded to it under state wetland rules, and the no loss has been demonstrated and accepted by the county. US Solar the solar farm would be composed of single axle solar farms that rotate east to west as sun rises and sets. The panels will be about 6 to 8 feet tall depending on the angles. No utility poles are proposed. Interconnection will be made underground. The applicant will ensure interconnection equipment will be placed outside the 50-foot right-of-way. Construction is targeted for spring of 2026 and work times between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday with no construction proposed on weekend or holidays, nationally observed holidays. Approximately 4 times per year, authorized technicians will be sent out to perform routine maintenance on the site, in addition to any unplanned maintenance. The applicant is proposing to plant native plantings 30 to 36 inches. The applicant will be planting a row of 6-foot tall eastern red cedars planted no more than 6 feet apart. The wetland area where the applicant is proposing to use white cedars as well as a variety of deciduous trees that will be better suited for wetland areas. A variance was requested, and as I mentioned earlier, was denied. They were requesting a variance to not have to do trees on the north and south side of this property. Ordinance says the perimeter has to be lined in trees. That variance was denied at the Board of Adjustment preceding this meeting. They're proposing a 7-foot high non-electric farm field fence that will be placed around the perimeter of the solar farm. Access to the solar farm shall be, through County Road 94. Internal driveway access to the solar farm. Access will be reviewed by the county engineer, but he has no concerns with the proposed access. Natural heritage review was completed by the Minnesota DNR and found that landing turtles may be impacted by the project and required the applicant to provide an avoidance plan prior to development of the site. A glare study was not required because the proposed farm is not utilizing reflector solar systems. And Minnesota MMPA requests that Sherburne County waive or reduce the decommissioning deposit for its solar project. Reason given by the applicant are MMPA will own and operate this project, not US Solar, and it's not a private developer. They stated because MMPA is a permanent, publicly accountable entity with minimal risk of dissolution or abandonment, the need for financial surety to guarantee decommission is significantly reduced, and requires a requiring a large decommission would unnecessarily tie up public funds. MMPA is willing to provide cash escrow in lieu of credit. And then the last comment is the additional public comment that we received outside the board packets. And with this item, there are 20 recommended conditions of approval. And now I can jump into, I'll just pull up the site plan so the board can review that. And I'll answer any questions the board may have.
Yeah. Any questions for staff?
And so
Got one question, all this, the TEP reviewed this, correct?
Yes. The TEP did an extensive review, kind of a lot of back and forth on this.
Yeah.
Because what it required was demonstration that there was a no loss. So the delineation was completed early in the process. The delineation mapped out wetlands. Our TEP panel found additional wetlands on site that weren't initially delineated. Those have been added. They had to go forward with their full grading and drainage plan and the electrical plan to prepare their no loss application and the de minimis application. So you'll see that they are utilizing their full de minimis for this project.
What was a de minimis?
Yeah.
A de minimis is, every property is allotted a certain
I mean, the area.
area. Is it 4,000 square feet, I believe?
It's 0.1 acres.
0.1 acres?
0.1 acre, thanks.
Okay.
And then, so then they have the remaining area falls under no loss. So they've demonstrated that there's not going to be, loss of, hydrology going to these wetlands through this, which required quite a bit of modifications of this application. So that really held this project up for quite a while because it is a wetter site. We don't usually have as much wetland on our solar projects. Yeah, historically, they're in the middle of a farm field in Clear Lake Township, and we get to avoid a lot of wetlands. On this site, they weren't able to do that. So they had to do a lot of redesigning of the solar farm to comply with the state's wetland rules.
Well, it appears to me on this drawing that you got up there, there's a little bit of encroachment on delineated wetlands, is that?
And that's where they're utilizing the de minimis.
I see. Okay.
So de minimis can be utilized. So each wetland panel takes up a certain percentage. So when you think about de minimis, it's impacting a wetland. When solar farms, there's a smaller threshold for solar panels going in a wetland because you have a fence post going in the ground, you have some shielding.
Right.
So it's not like you're driving a road across a wetland. It's a smaller impact. So yes, so solar panels can go in wetlands, but there has to be an accountability for some of the loss of the wetland because of that.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, sir.
Mark, for clarification for my uses, planning and zoning staff comments, I'll go to number 7. Applicant is proposing native plantings to be 30 to 36 inch in height. These are plantings underneath the panels. These are, in the past, we were talking about pollinators and natural grasses. Is that what we're seeing in number 7?
And yes, yeah, and the applicant could probably speak a little bit better than I can on
All right.
specific plantings.
And if I may thank you. If I may go on to item number 8, applicant will plant 1 row of 6-foot tall eastern cedar, 6 foot apart. In here, they say a variance was requested to utilize trees on the north and south. That was denied. The variance will be heard by Planning Commission. In this, it's obvious that the application was denied earlier for delineation of trees. So the 1 row will be, for clarification again, all the way around.
Around the entire perimeter, and that is what their plans show.
All right.
So when we go to the actual plans for construction, you will see that it is vegetated screening all the way around.
Okay.
So they prepared for potential denial.
Correct.
So if you choose to approve this, we'll remove that language that references the variance and stick with that first sentence or two that says they'll do it around the entire circumference, 6 feet apart at a max, and list the tree types.
Thank you.
Good
That was
catch.
it for me, Mr. Chair.
No, the applicant was going to discuss the native plantings, is it?
I think we were just confirming that that's what would be underneath the solar panels. It's not, it wasn't meant to be a description of the screening, which maybe you were
Right.
thinking
Right.
it might
That-
be.
That's the
It's
part that
not.
wasn't really,
Right, yeah.
thank you.
Those are different portions of the project, yep.
Any other questions for staff? If not, I guess we'll proceed to the public hearing.
Check in with the applicant. Have you?
Oh, yeah, well, we got the applicant up there, I thought. Oh,
And, yeah, and we still are covering both items, both
yeah,
the comp
okay.
plan amendment. and the-
Oh, so we got, okay, understood.
So if they maybe can just speak on behalf of the project, the IEP a little bit more.
Okay. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
good evening. My name is Tina Munson. I'm with US Solar, and we're at 323 North Washington Avenue in Minneapolis. Good evening, and thank you for your time. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that have happened with this application and give you a little background. We went to Big Lake Township in October of 2025 to discuss this project, and obviously you've seen the notes there. In November, we did hold an open house at actually the Big Lake Township hall there, and so we were able to take feedback and understand and hear the concerns of the community. We obviously continue to field calls and inquiries that may come in. The other thing that I just want to show the work we did, we've already met with your Public Works team in December to discuss the construction along the southern boundary to ensure that we're coordinating as closely as we can and understand impacts that construction may have or that we may have on that construction, and importantly, talked a lot about drainage. I think in front of you tonight, you have a fully completed application that meets your ordinance. And so we're happy to answer any questions you may have on that. I think based on the conversation or the comments we heard at the variance hearing, I presume some of those will come back here. We're happy to come back and address those questions or comments if the board so chose to have us come back, but we're happy to address those, assuming that they'll come here with their own, on their own, right? I want to make sure that they get to say what they want to say to you directly, but we're happy to come back. So I just wanted to add that a little bit, but obviously you are all very familiar with solar farms. In this case, is a little different. MMPA is, of course, a public entity, utility, but they have also purchased this property, I don't know, what year, 2022. So the intent for the property has been, of course, some sort of development for Elk River Municipal for quite some time. And so this is just the time when we'll be able, or when the application has come forward. I just wanted to let you know that that has sort of been the plan for some time. Thank you.
Any questions from the board for the applicant?
Where's this electricity going?
It's interconnecting to the Waco substation, which is about 2.5 miles south. That substation serves Elk River Municipal Utilities, but also is, connected to the transmission system as well. So I think it actually sits in Big Lake Township physically. The property itself is a 1/4 mile from the city limits.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but there was, the applicant was requesting a reduction in the construction or escrow account.
Item 13.
Item, yeah.
So what you guys have been presented, what the board has been presented tonight is a list of conditions, and one of the conditions has a blank, I assume for your discussion and decision. So I think what Mark read was essentially, we have a decommissioning plan. That's not what we're trying to avoid here. What we were making the case for is that this is a public utility. Having a decommissioning surety or security as part of this is essentially going to tie up public money for the length of the project, however long it's in service, 40 years under the IUP. And we would ask for your consideration to either waive or reduce sort of your normal requirements there. MMPA is not going anywhere. They have long-term load obligations to serve folks in the community. So that's the request that's been made, but it's up for your discussion and decision.
May I ask, I know we've had other electrical companies in here. Have we done that for them? Have we waived or?
Well, have we had any other public solar
Mr.
facilities?
Chair, we've had one other company, Connexus Energy. I'm not sure if they're public or not. They may not be. They were up in Baldwin Township. They were the one that were next to the Princeton Airport. they did have to pay the same decommissioning fee. As you may recall, when we originally started doing solar farms, we were at 25,000 per megawatt. The county board a number of years ago went to 100,000 per megawatt. Within the last year, the planning and zoning staff have done a presentation to the county board during a workshop, and we compared what different counties and area municipalities have for requirements, and you see them up to 200 or so thousand per megawatt now. And the county board had discussed that they may want to increase that to a higher number to ensure that if somebody didn't decommission as they were supposed to per the plan, property gets sold, something happens, that we have those assurities. I think that ultimately is up to the county board to establish what they want to put for the amount, and whether that stays at 100, goes to 150, goes to 200. That would be up to the county board of commissioners to decide. But I would imagine whatever they establish it at, it's established for everyone, and it doesn't change based on the different applications, but that would be a good question for the county attorney.
So at present, it's 100,000.
We haven't had a new one come through here for a while, and it was 100,000 at the last one. There's been discussion that it should be increased, and that is ultimately up to the county board.
How many megawatts is this?
3.5.
0.5.
I think that question went out to the townships. Was it mid last year or something, asking for thoughts on that? And there was a member of our board that thought it was too low and that we should be increasing it for what it's worth.
$1 million.
So in your workshop, what was the lowest value locally or regionally, I guess?
I'm going to say it's been so long since we were there, but I'm going to say maybe 50,000, but that was out in rural Minnesota, down in southern Minnesota, and in speaking with that zoning administrator, they were going to be increasing it too. If my memory is correct, I believe at that time Stearns County was at 185,000 a megawatt. I believe that Wright County was at 200,000 per megawatt. That's going off recollection. I could be wrong, but that's what I recall.
But no, on the proposed conditions, right now, that's blank.
Right.
So
And
is it up to the planning commission to put a number in there, or?
in the past, it's the county board that has established that rate. It's not in our fee schedule. It's whatever the board deems necessary at the time.
Okay.
And the reason it was called out is because the applicant specifically made reference to this in their application. And the fact that we had a workshop with the county board kind of discussing decommissioning fees, we just felt it was appropriate to interject this conversation in this application process.
It just, my concern is of the future value over a 40-year span, that 100,000 would be simply inadequate.
Kind of what the board, it's kind of what the county board, when we presented them, that was part of the discussion.
Well, and we started out with 25 years. And now we're at 40.
Now we're at 40, yeah.
No, we're at 100.
No, I'm talking about years.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
So,
And are we deciding today whether or not this is going to be waived or reduced?
No, you can leave that blank, and it could go to the
We can
county
just
board, and
leave
they'll ultimately make that decision.
right.
Bad choice.
Good.
yes.
Are there any other questions for the applicant or staff? At this time, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna go quick, 'cause I gotta go hockey. Sorry, I didn't know how this one went. My name is Paul Olson. I'm at 21180 145th Street Northwest. I did just send an email to Mark late in the day. I appreciate you letting me do that. I had no idea how this was all gonna work. The information I put down here, very much bulleted points. The grammar's bad, but I just get my thoughts out. I just want you guys to look at all these points I put out there. I mean, a couple things. I want you guys to look at data and find out residentially, like nowhere else. I mean, ask yourself, in Sherburne County, do we have any other places like this next to a platted development? Is it gonna change our values? I asked the county assessor, and she said there is no sales in Sherburne County ever to prove one way or another, which I find hard to believe. I said, well, at some point then, we gotta look regionally, nationally, whatever it is. So I mean, there's some articles out there where there's, you know, decrease in values between 7% on properties within a half a mile of these, okay? So, I mean, bullet point wise, you know, I went through some stuff about the vegetation. I think it needs to be double lined if we're gonna do it. I thought about a berm would be great if we're not gonna be able to do it. I'm just a little guy. MMPA is a lot of money. I can't fight them. One thing I do wanna ask about is if you do unfortunately approve it, to think about, I have an approach, I have 2 lots to the west of there. And I wanna make sure that I'm not inhibited to where I can put an approach onto my property, that there is not one there now. So I wanna make sure that that is thought about. What else do I got here? Think about the, you know, I'm worried also about deer and animal getting across that road. Right now, they're naturally going across it. They're gonna end up going around 2 fences to get across that road. There's gonna be accidents. There's gonna be injuries, not only to the animals, but the collisions of deer. Our insurance rates are gonna go up. There's gonna be problems. So we all moved out to the rural area to get away from the city. I ask you guys, how would you like it if a solar field was right next door to you every day? Bruce, I looked up your property. I see you have a vacant field to the north of you. I think it's owned by a tower company in St. Cloud. How would you like it if you woke up every day and had a 40-acre solar field to stare at? I don't think you'd like it. I mean, I don't know too many people that would. So, I get it.
We don't need
Business.
personal issues here.
What's that?
We don't need personal issues.
Well, I'm just
We're-
using an example, right?
No, we're talking
Right.
about,
I walk this property every day. My wife does. My parents do. Like I said in the previous meeting, my dad was a county assessor here in the county. He's had cancer for 15 years. He walks, my mom and dad walk their dog every day, twice a day. And to go look at that is gonna be a disgrace, unfortunately. So I appreciate your time. I gotta go to a hockey game. I wanted to get it all in. Are these recorded? Can I watch back on all this stuff? So if there's anything, if you guys got questions for me, let me know. I mean, I own the most property around this thing right now.
May I ask which one's your property? Is it the L-shaped one that?
I own, yep, the L-shape, yep.
Okay,
I
thank
also
you.
own 10 acres right there as well, in the development. So I own two parcels in the HOA. Most of the people here are from the HOA. And then I own all that, the west and the north line.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
any questions for the speaker?
Looks like,
Respond to the question about, is this recorded? Yes, it's recorded and it should be posted tomorrow.
okay, good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Certainly.
Mitch, I'm concerned for his mentioning access to his property. I don't know where driveway is. I didn't look to where driveway was accessing this 40-acre parcel. Will it affect the distance for Mr. Olson and his access to his acreage? Can he put an access in?
Fortunately, we do have the deputy county engineer, David Riddell. So David, he owns this parcel right here. So the question is regarding
I own
access.
2 parcels right there. I did talk to somebody at that October meeting, when there was an open public forum. They made it sound like when they redo the road, that they would let me put a separate driveway into both of them, because if I ever want to sell it, it has to be accessible. So they made it sound like that. That's not in writing, so I just want to make sure that it is brought up, because there's a lot more room on this proposed solar field to put an access versus to where I am at.
Good afternoon, David Riddell, Deputy County Engineer. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I probably talked to you at the open house. I believe this is a locally, depends upon the zoning, the jurisdiction of the roadway. It's either 330 feet or 660 feet between driveways. So certainly with a landlocked parcel, we would allow an access point to be constructed. We try to work with that. I look at a development of a single parcel that produces 10 trips a day, so it does not create a safety issue for a single access point.
That's your answer?
as long as I can have an access. I mean,
All right.
and also, yeah, I don't know if we talked about, there's a 66-foot easement
You'll
also.
need to step to the podium.
Can I still go up and talk?
Yeah.
If I can't, I won't. I just,
It's at the chair's discretion, but it's public comment.
Pardon me?
Chair's discretion.
It's at the chair's discretion. Public comment has been made, but if you do wish to elicit questions or comments from the speaker, you can.
Okay. I guess there was a question from Mr. Hubble.
Yes, it was a matter of, I got my answer, yes, he will have road access to his, he can put in a driveway.
Correct. And then the question about the easement came up, that would be addressed through our survey department. Should development occur, we'd have to look into that a little further as to an existing easement that's on the property today.
Thank you.
There is one?
Or anyone else to speak on this issue?
Yeah, name's Dave Carpy, 14581 208th Avenue, Elk River. I guess I could come up here and whine about it's going to be right there next to us and whatnot, but I think this being a Sherburne County meeting, I want to talk more about the county itself. And I'm wondering if this is the kind of template we want to build, the precedent to build, where if there's an available piece of residential land, whether it be wetland in there or 8 pieces of wetland, are we just gonna start grabbing any piece of land and be able to sell it and convert it to a commercial property? And again, we're not gonna benefit from the power coming out of this, I guess. It's gonna be delivered somewhere else, so we get to live with it and the power is going somewhere else. Where would that end in here? That could be, I mean, could I sell my house and clear the land? I've got 1 piece of wetland. Could they add another 0.25 megawatt by putting some solar panels just in my area then too? It's just concerning that would almost be like a cancerous thing if we could just let things pop into an area, do it over here, feed over here. Gets confusing. And Mark, I believe you had brought up too that there's a lot of wetland in here and it was too hard, they could not get around in there. You could get around that by not buying it. It's not appropriate land because there's so many things that had to be gotten around that, as opposed to just going to a farmland, flat land that's already ready to go and just do your straight rows. It's just odd to throw it in the middle of a residential. And I don't know where that would end if we set a precedence that we're gonna just buy lands wherever they're available. So it's really kind of what I had to say about it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this issue?
My name is Josh Fitzsimons. I live at 15,212th Avenue Northwest, Elk River. I actually own property right next to Paul over here. In 2022, MPA bought that property for $621,920 when it was valued at $179,700. Essentially, they paid 3 times more than what it was worth. Money talks, and that's a concern. I'm afraid that, a big company's gonna come in like this and just throw money so people will turn a blind eye. I drive down this road every day. I see deer, turkey, fox, pheasant. I see sandhill cranes nesting in that field. You put that in, it's not gonna happen anymore. I don't wanna look at it. It's an eyesore. I moved out here to be in nature, and had I known that this was gonna happen when I bought my house in 2020, I would have never bought the house. That's all I have to say.
Pardon me? None? Anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
My name's Kristen Carpy. I live at 14581 209th Avenue Northwest, Elk River. It is deeply disheartening to move from the city to an area valued for its natural surroundings, only to watch that landscape be fundamentally altered by industrial development. The proposed solar farm represents exactly that kind of loss. Proponents of this project have stated that the land will not be destroyed. However, unless the solar panels are somehow installed without disturbing the ground beneath them, this claim is difficult to accept. Large-scale solar installations require grading, access roads, foundations, fencing, and long-term land alteration. These impacts are not temporary and should be acknowledged honestly. Of particular concern is the presence of protected wetlands within or adjacent to the proposed site. It is unclear whether these wetlands will truly be avoided, buffered, and preserved, or whether exemptions or variances will be granted simply because this project is labeled a green initiative. Wetlands exist to protect water quality, wildlife habitat, and flood control, and they should not be compromised for any industrial use, regardless of the stated purpose. There is a troubling contradiction in promoting environmental stewardship while simultaneously removing grasslands, trees, and natural habitat to replace them with an industrial field of glass and metal. Environmental responsibility should mean protecting existing ecosystems, not sacrificing them in the name of optics or ideology. Finally, I ask decision makers to consider a simple but important question. Would supporters of this project be willing to have a solar farm placed directly in their own front yard, backyard, or within clear view of their home? If the answer is no, then it is unreasonable to impose that burden on others. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider this proposal to fully account for its environment and community impacts and to prioritize the protection of natural landscapes and wetlands that cannot be replaced once they are gone.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue? As-
My name is Jason Anderson. I live at 21061 on 145th Street in Big Lake Township. Am I allowed to ask you guys questions? Yeah. If not, I will anyway. I would. Have any of you visited this site? Like, have you actually walked out there and seen this parcel? I think that if you did, it would be eye-opening. The development directly to the east of this is higher elevation than this parcel. And there are no amount of screenings or trees or tree growth that are going to buffer the view of this solar field from that neighborhood. It's difficult for me to understand how one would argue that this would not lower the property values of the neighborhood, given the fact that that's never going to be hidden from view. Anybody that's going to sell or buy this property in the future is going to be able to see this. It'd be one thing in that if this solar garden was going to benefit the local residents, but as admitted, this is not even going to be benefiting anybody in Big Lake Township. This is not the right parcel for this solar garden. It's a wetland area. By their own admittance, there are going to be approximately 25% of this property that isn't going to be able to have solar panels on because it's wetland. I don't understand how this makes sense to put this in a rural residential zoned neighborhood. And if you change this zoning, it's only going to attract more projects like this in the area. Where are we going to have wind farms? Are we going to have more? We're going to have data centers. Projects like this attract other projects like this. And I'll speak to the farming of this, that said that this is marginal farming. I moved in here 10 years ago. It was farmed for years. It seemed to be okay with farming. So the idea that it's not good farmland, I think, is just a moot point here. It is. And as far as it's a 3.5 megawatt, that's nothing in the scope of a solar farm. The amount of power this is going to generate is not enough benefit to whoever it's going to benefit, not us, to justify its being built. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments. We're not changing the zoning, changing the comprehensive land use plan.
My apologies. I was just reading the thing that was sent out.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
Michael Wirtz, WIRZ. I live at 21010 145th Street. We built in 17, and that land out there was farmland. Plain and simple, not the best, not the worst. But the nature that's out there is unbelievable. The biggest thing to this is I live at the property of 0115, according to the PIN numbers there. My view, no matter, like he said, how tall the trees, how tall the berm, will be 100% solar panels. Gone are the nature, gone are the sunsets, and pretty much anything I want to do in my pole barn for any extended period of time. So I'm being selfish, yes. But my pole barn lies probably 100, 150 feet from where these panels will be placed. With a buffer in there, still isn't going to make a difference. I've got 2 adult children still living with me. Both have health issues. And from what the research I've done, the research that they've done, they will need to move. Paul mentioned cancer, his dad having cancer. This is all part of what will happen and continue to happen if this is allowed to go through. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
Did you say the last person to speak? Okay. My name is Jill Hinton, 14307 209th Avenue Northwest. I live in Elk River. We're right down the road from the great city township of Big Lake. You guys have an opportunity here. I used to represent a light company. Reuse, renew, and recycle. There is farmland out there. I'm new to the community, but there was farmland out there. And there is farmland out there. That's not, yes, you're saying it's not, you guys are saying, somebody is saying it's not worth farmland. It's wetlands. So you want to put solar panels out there to destroy all the animals, the birds, the foxes, the deer? You guys want to destroy that? Destroy their environment. I got 2 minutes remaining. I sure hope you table this like you did for the vet, because this is something that needs deep, deep, deep thought. I understand we have to take care of our environment, because if we don't, nobody else is going to. You guys have a chance to build a legacy here. All you guys up here, don't go for death and destruction with solar panels. Better yet, if you're willing to put them on top of this building where you work,
Yes.
put them on top of this building, and then take that power down to, what is it, Waco?
Yep.
It's not even for us. How much money are you guys getting from the Green New Deal if we let this go through? How much money are you paying them? Better yet, don't go for death and destruction. I got 1 minute left. Make it a golf course.
Yeah.
Make it a golf course. Make it a wetlands golf course. Make it something for the FFA. Make it something for 4-H. Teach our kids how to farm again. Don't destroy and bring death to our farmlands. Please, you guys again have an opportunity to do something great. Table this. Table this, because if you let this in, other forms of energy that are bad, you're going to let them into. Don't do it for the money. Do it for your grandkids. Do it for your great grandkids, because most of us aren't going to be here when the poison and the destruction starts happening. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else who wishes to speak on this issue?
Mike Nijelik, 12275 Rush Circle. I own the property to the south. This particular piece of land is drained wetland. There is basically a ditch running through it. We know it's drained wetland. The one thing that hasn't been discussed is something I'm going to point to the map. Right about there, there is a wire mesh, a piece of corrugated steel going straight into the ground, and a clay pipe coming inside and going straight down. It is in the county right-of-way. I'm gonna guess it hasn't been explored or studied to find out if it is a functional tile system that is not recorded. And if it is a functional tile system, that means that this portion would probably flood if it were broken. So there are some wetland issues and some drain wetland issues that need to be formally flushed out before any approval of this project could occur.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else who wish to speak on this issue?
I will.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Rick Ressler. I live at 20851 145th Street in Elk River. We moved out here, built a house in 2016, and everybody here, and I go around, I'm a mobile salesman, so I see a lot of people in other towns. They don't pay the taxes that I do. A lot of us here pay a lot of taxes to live out where we're at. And I haven't heard anybody ask for maybe a rebate check on their property. If this gets built, could we all get a rebate check from that? I think we'll all gladly just pay you guys here our high taxes to keep what we bought in the first place.
Yep.
And I think there's better choices for solar. If you drive from Osseo down to Rogers, there are acres of buildings up there. Throw those panels on those ceilings up there. There's already big power and energy sources going into these big manufacturing plants. Put them up there and leave some of this other stuff alone. I don't think America's good at all this energy stuff yet. You go to China, they got high-speed trains that go 200 miles an hour. We can't even keep the North Star here. So I think I'll just pay my high taxes and enjoy what I got, but I don't need that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
All right, my name is Daniel Otis. I'm at 20911 145th Street Northwest. Keep it relatively short and sweet. I'm against the proposed plan for the reasons previously stated by the rest of the group here. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Does anyone else wish to speak on this issue? This will be the last public hearing for this issue, so. Does anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
Move to close the
Sorry.
Get up on the second one next. Aaron Olson, 21161 145th Street, Elk River. I just want the board to consider some of the things that were said earlier. MMPA, they build power plants and they sell to the utilities. So they're not really the public utility, they're the ones operating the power plant. So they buy and they get subsidies to run these things and then to sell it to the utilities. The other thing is you're gonna plant natural vegetation underneath these things, but they're shaded. It's a solid panel. They're don't letting light through, so that natural vegetation is not gonna get the sunlight that it probably needs. The other thing is that solar is probably one of the worst ways to generate power. It's certainly not the cheapest. And over time, its power generation capacity is going to diminish rather rapidly. And there is no real good way to dispose of used solar panels. It might be sold as a clean energy, but the production and disposal is certainly not. So I just wanted to point that out so that the board has the facts and information they need. It also isn't just supported by a post, a fence post, like you said earlier. These are drilled in piles, helical or cast in place. They're gonna have a concrete cap on them, especially if they're a rotating panel. You can't support that off a small pipe. You're gonna have pretty good infrastructure underneath there to support this. So to mislabel and mislead people by saying it's just a fence post, you gotta look at the plans. It's more, it's substantially more. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does the applicant have a response?
Just a couple points. We appreciate all the public input. One point that was mentioned is that we're not a utility, that MMPA is not a utility. We are a utility. We're a wholesale power supply utility. Similar to the structure of co-ops where GRE sells power to a Connexus or another co-op, MMPA sells power to the 12-member utility. So it's a wholesale power utility. So just to make sure that was clear. And there's a lot of comments that were made about wetlands and all other types of issues related to wetlands. We did go through a pretty lengthy process with the TEP panel and have an approved wetland delineation and complete package. So I think Tina might have a couple other things to bring up as well.
Sure, thank you. Just a couple things. You guys have done a lot of solar. You obviously know how thorough your application, or how thorough of a process your application process actually is, right? So we've worked with the DNR, we go through the TEP application. We've had to do a lot of adjustments in order to make our way through that TEP application, including moving the access. So there are many things that we have to do in order to get through your very thorough process. And I just want to be clear that we have put a full and complete application in front of you this evening. There were some comments about posts. We are not using concrete, and we do not have any plans for helical piling. We just drive them into the ground and you just embed them as deep as you need to go, just to be very clear. I don't want to have any misconceptions around what that looks like. And then just actually kind of an interesting note about disposal. The state of Minnesota actually has pulled together a task force, and they just put out their report on critical minerals and the process of what the state wants to do to try to ensure that they're extracting all critical minerals from waste, whether it's solar panels or toys or semiconductor manufacturing. It's been a really interesting report, but the state is looking at trying to help extract those critical minerals at the end of life of whatever it might be. And I think that's just important for everybody to know that somebody's looking at that. And of course, disposal of panels, we follow whatever requirements are in the jurisdiction in which we are, if there isn't anything on a state level. And I'll close there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Does anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Does anyone else wish to speak on this issue? Anyone else wish to speak on this issue?
I'd like to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You guys just passed it?
They closed the public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I'd like to make a comment.
sir.
I'm a water guy. I'm a wetland guy. That's why I just love being on the Board of Adjustments and the Zoning Commission. But I do not see any benefit whatsoever of burning up wetlands and making them go around this and go around that and everything else. There's a reason why we have wetlands. We need to store water. We need the critical habitat. And for that reason, I don't support this, and I would not recommend it to the board for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
As an advocate for conservation, I do feel like this would have an adverse impact on natural resources and the living environment. And I would agree with Steve that I would not be in support of this in this area.
Any other discussion by the board?
I'd like to make a comment also. I have not been out there, and I guess I apologize for not doing that. But screening effectiveness has always been a huge part of the discussions anytime we bring a solar project to fruition. It's always talked about. And I've lived across the street for years from a berm and some beautiful trees, and it still didn't matter, it was still there. I knew it was there. And the other thing is, I'm looking through this and it says, does not create a nuisance. We have to make that statement that it doesn't create a nuisance. And I know we keep thinking about human beings, but it's gonna create a tremendous nuisance for the local wildlife. The fencing is gonna be 7 feet high. I mean, that's gonna be a tremendous impingement on animals to be able to move. I think it's also gonna be very disruptive to the current ecosystem there. And then you also have to look down the road. Someone made a comment out here, we have to look down the road. What's gonna happen when they do the decommissioning? Because that's also gonna have an impact. So not only is it going to be disrupted now, and they're going to be fencing the entire area. Am I correct, Mark, on that?
Yes.
So the entire area, the 36 acres is the entire area?
30 acres of the project area.
Pardon?
So the fence, I'm just trying to look real quick where that fence boundary goes to.
That's the green, correct, or is it the red?
It's the green, so it's not the
Green.
entire 36, it's, yeah, it's avoiding portions of the property.
So I'm opposed to making that change. Because while it doesn't constitute a nuisance perhaps to the local people, it's certainly going to cause a nuisance to the local inhabitants of the land.
So just to play devil's.
Chair, I agree. I agree with all of the comments made. I can't support a plan that would destroy our natural habitat, wetlands, beautiful spot, I'm sure. I can't.
And Mr. Chair, can I just clarify board members' comments in talking about being in favor or being in opposition? There's been public comment as it pertains to both of the items before you. So if perhaps the speakers can clarify when they talked about their positions, if it's as to one or both of the items that I know you will be taking action on.
And Kathy, I do want to play devil's advocate to what you said, like it's a nuisance to the animals. We could make that argument about any house or anything else being built. So I mean, we have to look that at some point we do need to expand. Now, someone made the point, I don't know if anybody has walked out there. I think it was that gentleman. I agree, I have not walked out there, so I did pull it up on Google Maps. And as many of you guys have said, this is not a dry, just a crop land. This is not just barren land. There is a lot of wildlife and very clearly wetland. So while I might be in support of changing the actual comprehensive plan that we talked about, this specific plot, I'm not sure is the appropriate place for one.
I guess when I talked about it altering it, it has more to do in my mind with the fence.
Sure.
And I don't think you're gonna put a 7-foot fence around your 12-acre meets and bounds property.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying here is, in general, I might be in support of expanding this, but this particular one, there's too much wildlife there, and like you said, you're shutting off the entire ecosystem by, one, building this, and then two, putting the fence around that. It's not just barren land.
I am familiar with the property. I have driven by, but I have not walked on the property. I am not sure I'm in favor of solar panels or solar farms in the rural residential, opening it up that way. I think there are other locations that are more appropriate for these solar farms. That addresses that. But then this is not the location. This is not a good location.
Any other comments? We have 2 agenda items in front of us. Agenda item number 3 is looking to amend the comprehensive land use plan from rural residential to energy production. And planning, or the staff has asked that we state our reasons for our votes. So what are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the application.
The application or the comprehensive plan change?
Thank you. The comprehensive land change request.
So I will second that with a comment that just because we're approving it doesn't mean that everything is automatically approved. So if someone comes through and in this case applies for it, we can still decline it at a later time if it's something like this where we do not feel it's appropriate. But this is opening it up, so if there is an appropriate place down the road in residential rural, that we could approve it.
I completely agree with you.
So I will second that.
So I'd like to
Moved
clarify.
and- Moved and seconded.
So we need clarification on this because this is only for this one parcel. It has nothing to do with any other parcels in Sherburne County.
So if you vote to
So it doesn't
change it, you're
change-
saying on this,
It's not changing the ordinance.
This is just this parcel.
It's
Correct.
It's changing the map.
Just so we're clear on that.
But what I'm making my motion with the intention that we put this up for a vote.
No, I realize that, but it's only for this one parcel.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further
So
discussion?
it's only for this, we're changing it just for this, not for Sherburne County.
Just for this parcel.
I would like to redact my second, if that's possible.
is there anyone else that wants to make a
I
second?
didn't hear that.
I said I would like to redact my second for this then.
So there's a motion standing without a second.
So there is a motion with no second at this point.
For changing the comprehensive land use map plan for just this parcel.
This parcel.
Correct.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
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 Motion failed.
You need to give us.
Do we need the reasons?
There's not findings, so we asked for a reason.
Pardon me?
There's not findings for this use or for this comprehensive plan land use amendment, but we were looking for reasons for,
Okay.
why the motion failed.
You need individual reasons or just one?
Board members can provide their comments if they want, so.
Steve, you could.
I can start. I just think there's too much wetland there.
Well,
That's what I recall.
So are we giving a reason for denial, or are we gonna deny it and then give a reason?
So my recommendation would be with the failed motion to approve, just to be clear that there should be a vote as to then whether or not there is a majority as to denying the request.
So someone needs to make a motion to deny and you have to vote on it.
Got it. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Got it. Thank you very much. Robert's Rules of Order.
And does someone want to articulate specifically why you would deny it? And each member could speak if they chose to do so, so that it was very clear and concise.
Well,
My
I would
reason-
make one of the recommendations for denial as being a sensitive wetland area. And being on both boards for quite a while, I've noticed that we try to avoid the wetlands, but I don't see this happening here. And I don't care about your D whatever the heck it is.
De minimis.
And it's just posts going into the ground. There's covers on those posts. And it's going to affect those wetlands and all the nature and everything else. And that doesn't even include putting a fence up to keep things out. The animals aren't even gonna be able to get in there. So that was my reason for recommending denial.
I will restate that I think this is has adverse impact on natural resources and the living environment.
Well, we haven't had the vote yet, but it's
I would
been,
also like to add that I would be concerned, again, I have not walked the property, but effectiveness of screening really is an important piece of whether it's a gravel mine or whether it's a solar farm. Being able to provide adequate screening and therefore protect the adjacent property owners.
And you believe, based on the information that you have, that that screening would not be effective in this scenario, is that right?
Based on, again, public hearing comment about highlands and lowland, which obviously, if it's wetlands, they're not going to be building on wetlands. So my logic tells me that they are above the wetland. And based on testimony heard at the public hearing. I also do, one of the findings we have to be is it doesn't create a nuisance, and it doesn't specifically say in there that it has to be a nuisance to human beings. So a 7-foot fence would be a nuisance.
it's been moved and seconded to deny the request to amend the comprehensive land use map. A few of the members have given their opinions already, but anyhow, all in favor of denying?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Aye. We'll move on to agenda number 4. And that is requesting an interim use permit for a solar farm, but a comprehensive land use map has not been changed. I guess that's a moot.
No, we still need to make a vote on it.
Well, it's a recommendation. Again, this is a recommendation so this board has to give another recommendation on the IEP.
Given the vote from the last one, I move to deny.
Second.
Again, I didn't hear the motions. I don't hear well.
Sorry, I said given what we said in the last motion, that I'm gonna move to deny this.
You moved to deny it, been seconded by Mr. DeMules. Any other further discussion?
Do we need again to give reasons?
We have to go through the findings.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
We have to go through the findings.
Oh, yeah.
So the first question is, the interim use permit will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the immediate vicinity. That's up to make the
proposed location of the solar farm.
that is
yeah.
staff's recommendations, and if your guys are
If ours are different.
yeah, those are. So back to the question that the interim, so you are responsible for responding to the findings. that the interim use permit will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the immediate vicinity.
Well, based on what we've heard here, I'm going to say no. We've had multiple people that have stepped up and said it will.
That it will what?
That will, oh, sorry, that will diminish their property value.
All right, number 2, that the establishment of the interim use permit will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant properties for uses predominant in the area.
Yes, I'm going to agree with what you guys have written. So the IUP will be valid for 40 years. If the property owner no longer wants solar panels, they can be removed. Property the solar farm is zoned in general rural district and can be subdivided into 2.5 acre lots if the site can comply with county zoning and subdivision regulations.
So you're looking to incorporate staff's finding on that one?
Yes, I think that still holds true.
Okay. Number 3, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided.
Again, I'm going to incorporate staff comments. Yes, Deputy County Engineer has reviewed the access to the solar farm and has no issues with it as proposed. Drainage plans have been reviewed and determined compliant with Minnesota Wetland Conservation Act rules.
I am going to ask for some clarification as to the response on the finding. It has been articulated, and so the board would just need to state its intent. There had been some concerns raised about the wetland and issues related to that. So is the intent to articulate that those issues exist or that those issues do not exist based on the record before the board today?
So they do exist for drainage. I think the access road does not exist. That's been proven by the engineer. I think what we're finding today is the drainage issues within the property could be a potential issue.
And does that include impacts to wetlands?
Correct.
Okay. Number 4, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use.
Yes, there's plenty of parking available on the property needed for construction operations.
Okay. And the last finding, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent or control offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibration, so none of these will constitute a nuisance, and control lighted signs and other lights in a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result.
I will not be adopting the staff comments on this one, so I'm going to say no. As Kathy pointed out, we've had multiple people say that it's higher elevation within the housing development that will look down into that, so that would be a nuisance in terms of a visual nuisance.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Findings of facts recited. All in favor of basically the denial, say aye.
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 Well, that's it. The motion didn't carry, so, well, the motion to deny did carried, so. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Mr. Chair, I will move to adjourn if we're ready for that.
I'm ready.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, just for the audience, so they are aware that this will go before the county board at the March meeting,
Okay.
and
What date is that?
the county board will make the final decision on it. But this goes as a recommendation, March 17th.
you.
In the morning.
All right. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Yo.
Still goes to the county.
Somebody want to take me home?
Anybody live by you? I would, but I got my work to do.
Oh, I'm just my wife. No, I was joking. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm all I do. So, most of them. Yeah.